The ship's a carcass, an old Krieger-class freighter. Probably ran out of fuel, judging by the pristine state of the interiors. Lucky me. It means the systems should still hold a charge. No shuffling through kilometers of rusted corridors, praying for a flashlight. Lights, I mutter into the comm bead. The command snakes through the suit's systems, and the gloom bleeds away. Harsh fluorescent strips sputter to life, bathing the command deck in a jaundiced glare. I let out a breath. Always a relief when that works. Place looks like they left in a hurry. Think we got winners? That's Reese, my spotter. I can't see him behind me, but his clipped tones buzz irritatingly in my ear. The command deck is gutted, consoles ripped open, data chips pried loose. Someone scavenged this wreck already. My pulse quickens. No bodies, no payout. We wasted 2 weeks chasing this lead, burning fuel we didn't have. Hold on, I said. Something glints beneath the captain's chair, half hidden in the shadows. Could be a ration pack or some tool. I cross the narrow space in a few strides, crouching. The glints a watch, a hefty titanium timepiece. Someone missed it. I flip it over, fingers tracing the inscription on the caseback. My blood runs cold. It's a name, and one that sends insurance companies into a frenzy. This isn't some low-level freighter grunt, it's Captain Darius Sterling, old money, corporate bigwig. His disappearance made the news cycles. Reese, we hit the jackpot! A week later, the payout hits my account, and the rusty hulk we call home throbs with celebration. It's not fancy, our ship, mostly salvage parts and hasty welds, but she's gotten us this far. Tonight, she's our raucous haven. I lean against the railing overlooking the bar, watching Dex, our engineer, guzzle a bottle of something neon bright with alarming speed. Reese slings an arm over the big man's shoulder. They always pair up after a score. So, Reese drawls in Dex's ear. Feel like taking a little trip. Might know a moon with dancers lithe as eels. The look Dex shoots him is pure loathing. Reese just grins, sharp and feral. That grin's gotten him into and out of more trouble than any of us. Well, maybe except me. A shadow falls across my vision. It's Jarrow, our pilot, hulking and silent as ever. He holds out a data pad, the screen blinking with payout figures. Fair split, I say, giving him a short nod. It's how we operate. 4 shares, flat rate, keeps the peace. Jarrow pockets the pad and moves off without a word, merging into the raucous crowd. My gaze sweeps the room again, then snags. A figure stands near the far wall, half shrouded in darkness. I don't recognize the silhouette, lean, not bulky like the rest of my crew. Definitely wasn't here 2 hours ago. Who the hell's that? I snap at Reese, who's materialized beside me. He follows my gaze, frowns. Can't rightly say. Don't look like no one from the docks, neither. Something pricks at the back of my neck. An old instinct from before the scavenging runs, from back when I wore a badge instead of a patched-up EVA suit. I push off the railing. I'm going to have a little chat. The figure tenses as I approach, shifting their weight. Light catches the edge of their jawline. Sharp, angular, definitely unfamiliar. They're armed, I realize. A glint beneath their rough-spun coat betrays the shape of a holstered blaster. Relax, I say, keeping my voice level. Just curious who invited you to our party. The figure hesitates, then reaches up, pulling back their hood. Andromeda, spit and swallow, it hits me that hard. A bounty hunter. The air in the bar goes taut, crackles with an energy more dangerous than the celebratory whoops of my crew. My gut lurches. Bounty hunters don't do social calls, not to ships like ours on the fringes of civilized space. This one, though, he's different. His eyes burn like twin stars under a sculpted brow, a startling shade of cobalt against sun-darkened skin. His hair's shorn close to the skull, not shaved like the usual bounty scum, accentuating his sharp cheekbones. Clean, too, his clothes are worn but not threadbare like ours. This one's a professional, high league, someone who pays his docking fees. Name's Leith, he says, voice an unaccented purr. I have a proposition for your... Captain. Technically, I don't have that title. not officially. But with Jarrow content in the cockpit, Dex drowning his sorrows in synthetic liquor, and Rhys more concerned with what crawls under skirts than under hulls. Yeah, I'm the closest thing we have to one. My hand hovers over the blaster at my hip, but I don't reach for it. Not yet. Bounty hunters don't do polite requests, and Leith ain't spilling what he has to offer out of the goodness of his soul. Come on then, I grunt, gesturing towards the mess deck. Suppose the crew won't miss us for a while. The mess deck is cramped and dim, a far cry from the party still surging 2 decks below. Leith settles onto a salvage storage crate, posture ramrod straight in the cramped space. I lean against the table, arms crossed, and wait for him to speak. Finally, he does. I represent an interested party. They seek a specialized skill set. Like finding bodies? I snort. Not exactly a big clientele for that. Leith's mouth curves in the barest hint of a smile. Something more challenging. Go on, I say non-committally. The comm bead in my ear buzzes, Rhys's voice a slurred question about where the hell I've gone, laced with innuendo about the bounty hunter. I ignore it. My employers, Leith continues, wish to acquire a certain item, something sensitive. They believe it's located in a heavily restricted sector. They require a crew capable of discretion and unconventional retrieval methods. I snort. He lost me at discreet. Rhys can barely tie his own shoes straight on a good day, and Dex thinks subtle is a spice blend. But the word restricted, that gets my attention. It means locked down tight by corporate fleets and automated defenses. It means high risk, and high risk means a potential payout that could set us up for life. What kind of item? I ask, trying to keep any excitement out of my voice. Leith shrugs, a graceful shift of his shoulders. That's of no concern to you. Simply assume you'll need the skills to bypass top-notch security, extract the item, and vanish without a trace. He slides a datapad across the table. Coordinates attached, payment upon delivery, significantly more than your... He pauses, nostrils flaring slightly. Recent windfall. This could be a trap, I know. Lure us in with a fat paycheck, then hand us over to corporate goons as patsies. Or it could be the break we've been crawling in the mud for. The chance to stop scavenging for scraps and make a real haul. You got yourself a deal, I say, reaching for the datapad. Leith stands, gaze scanning me like he's measuring me up. Excellent. I suggest you prepare. Departure is within the week. Then he turns and strides away, swallowed by the dimness. I stare at the datapad in my hand. Tonight's celebration just kicked into overdrive. I break the news over a hastily brewed pot of sludge that someone thankfully had sense enough not to spike with celebratory booze. Reactions are mixed. Jarrow just stares into his mug, his usual stoicism amplified into something near catatonic. Dex lets out a low whistle, then launches into a stream of excited profanity. I cut him off with a glare. Bounty hunters don't do charity, and neither do the corporations that hire them. This job might be our golden ticket, but it's paved with razor wire. Rhys is the only one who seems unfazed. Leaning back, he rests his boots on the table and chews a greasy hunk of ration bar. So, he drawls, restricted sector, huh? When does the shooting start? Despite the tension that thrums through me, I force a smirk. Rhys thrives on chaos. This is probably the most excited he's been since that bar brawl on Orion Station that nearly got us turned into spare parts. You'll get your fill, I assure him. But first we need to whip this rusted bucket and its ragtag occupants into something resembling a functional crew. For the next 3 days our ship descends into a frenzy of focused madness. Dex crawls through the guts of our engines, swearing and muttering about coaxing miracles from obsolete tech. Rhys restocks our ammo, whistling off-key tunes that set my teeth on edge. Even Jarrow emerges from his silence, poring over navigational charts that glow green on his console. I make the rounds, checking, drilling, reminding them what's at stake. This is more than just a payday. It's a shot at leaving the scavenge runs, the desperate hunts for half-functional parts, the uncertainty behind. Maybe a chance at a life where I don't sleep with one eye open. The night before departure, I find myself alone on the observation deck. We're in deep space now, stars spattered across the velvety expanse like a careless hand spilled diamonds. I let my gaze drift, then snag. There, winking through the cosmic dust, is a dull red glow. The restricted sector. I try to trace the boundaries, but it stretches beyond my sight, a vast forbidden zone. Corporations don't carve out chunks of space like that unless they've got something worth killing for. Leith was cagey about the item, but I'm starting to grasp the scale of what we're walking into. A surge of adrenaline lances through me, a counterpoint to the cold dread coiling in my gut. Hope is a dangerous thing. I've learned that lesson the hard way. Seen it etched in the haunted faces of a dozen shipwrecked crews who dared chase a better life. And yet, here I am again, hand on the lever, ready to hurl us into the unknown. Because the alternative, scraping and crawling and the slow decay of dreams, that's a fate worse than any corporate bullet. I take a deep breath and turn away from the window. It's time to gamble. We hit the edge of the sector like a fist slamming into a wall. 1 second, the rhythmic hum of our engines and the vast emptiness of space. The next, a discordant chorus of alarms shatters the silence. Warning lights paint the command deck a blood-red hue. Jarrow hunches over his console, fingers dancing across the controls with frantic speed. "Automated defense grid," he barks. "Drones inbound, multiple vectors." Dex spits a curse, lunging for his station. "Shields at 50% and dropping. Damn thing's ancient. Ain't meant to handle this barrage." I strap myself into the command chair. This is it. The moment where the scavengers either turn tail or prove they've got the steel to play in the big leagues. "Reese!" I command over the din of alarms. "Man the guns, and for God's sake, make those shots count!" A feral grin splits Reese's face as he scrambles towards the weapons console. The man's trigger-happy, but under that recklessness is a predatory instinct I trust with my life. My gaze snaps to Jarrow. "Evasive maneuvers? We need to buy time." "Already on it," he grunts, sweat beading his brow. Our ship groans and shudders as he wrestles it through a series of violent banks and dives. On the tactical display, the angry red dots representing drones swarm like hornets, buzzing ever closer. Through the viewport, I catch flashes of streaking lasers as Reese opens fire. A few drones explode into bursts of sparks, but more take their place. The shield meter keeps dropping, 30%, 20%. We can't outmaneuver them forever, and running blind into the restricted zone is suicide. I reach for the comms. "Leith!" I growl into the mic, fury scorching my throat. "You got a damn welcoming party out here. We need a path through that mess now!" Silence stretches taut in the command deck. Then Leith's cool voice crackles in my ear. "Coordinates transmitted. Be advised. Window of opportunity is narrow." The tactical display updates, a thin green line snaking through the swarm of drone markers. A path, tenuous and likely swarming with unseen defenses, but it's our only shot. "Hold on tight," Jarrow yells, throwing us into a corkscrew. Laser fire sears past us, close enough to feel the heat wash over my face. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Dex brace himself, eyes squeezed shut like he's waiting for the killing blow. But then, as quickly as it started, the barrage lessens. The shield meter steadies, alarms fall silent. We've broken through. With relief and adrenaline-fueled anger, I unclench my jaw. Round one to us, sort of. But we're a long way from the finish line. I glare at the sector stretching before us. This was just the welcome mat. The real horrors are yet to come. We plunge deeper into the sector, the tension in the command deck thick as nebula dust. Every meter traveled feels like a nail hammered into our coffin. Even with the drone assault behind us, the silence here is its own brand of menace. A vast, invisible net waiting to snare us. The coordinates Leith provided take us to a seemingly lifeless planetoid. a craggy rock bathed in the dim light of a distant star. There's no sign of a base, no telltale energy signatures, just desolation. But desolation like this doesn't happen naturally. This place was scrubbed clean, whatever secret it hid, erased with brutal efficiency. Jarrow guides our ship into a low orbit, scanning the pockmarked surface. Looks like a dead end, he grumbles. Leith said the target's subterranean, I remind him. Sensors picking up anything below. He frowns, fingers drumming on the control panel. Interference! Something scrambling the readings. Can't be natural. Dex swivels in his chair. They trying to hide this place. Best believe they've got defenses down there too. This ain't gonna be a walk in the park. For once, he's not exaggerating. I clench my fists, a coil of unease settling in my gut. Reese, prep the EVA suits, I order. Dex, you're with me. We're going in. His grin has a feral edge. He's a mechanic, not a soldier. Knows his way around an engine core, not a battlefield. But the payout on this job, it could buy a lifetime of freedom neither of us has ever known. Maybe that's enough to push him past his fear. Surface looks unstable, Jarrow warns. Seismometers are registering tremors. Could be mine shafts, could be something worse. I glance at Dex. His knuckles are white on the armrests, but the greed in his eyes outweighs the terror. I reach for the comms. Leith! I grate into the mic. What's waiting for us down there? A hiss of static, then his smooth voice cuts through. Focus on extraction. Anything else is beyond your pay grade. Rage boils in my blood. Disposable pawns, that's what we are to him. But he's right, we need that payout. We need to escape this scavenger's existence. A shudder rips through the ship. I glance at the viewport. A fissure has opened across the planetoid's surface, jagged and glowing with an ominous heat. Jarrow, get us back! I yell, but he's already slamming us into reverse thrust. The tremors intensify, the ship groaning in protest. Then, from the depths of the chasm, something vast and serpentine uncoils. Armored plates glint in the starlight, molten eyes fix on us, burning like hellfire. It's not a ship or a defense construct, it's a creature, a colossal subterranean being roused by our intrusion. Evasive maneuvers, I shout at Jarrow, though it's a futile command. We're a rusted freighter against a behemoth born in the darkness. The creature lunges, shearing through rock like tissue paper. We're caught in its tractor beam gaze, dragged inexorably towards the mouth. And in that heart-stopping moment, I know this is where it ends, our gamble, our grab at a better life. It dies in the jaws of a nightmare. Panic seizes the ship, a collective gasp of horror. On the command deck, time seems to stretch. Every screech of protesting metal, every crackle of exposed wiring is magnified, a death knell for our ambitions. Reese, usually all bravado, has gone chalk white, fingers clamped around a blaster that seems comically small compared to the thing bearing down on us. Dex just whimpers, like a broken man. Then, unexpectedly, Jarrow breaks the paralysis. He doesn't yell, doesn't swear. Instead, he punches in commands with the calm focus of a man accepting a brutal reality. Redirecting power from auxiliary systems, he mutters, gaze locked on the tactical display. Maximum thrust. Full burn. The ship shudders, engines groaning under the strain. We lurch forward, momentarily breaking the tractor beam's pull. Jarrow doesn't waste the moment. He banks hard, throwing us into a spiraling dive towards the surface of the fracturing planetoid. The creature screams in fury, too massive to adjust its course with such speed. But the fissures spiderwebbing across the planetoid are now chasms, chunks of rock tumbling into the chasm. We're going in blind! I shout over the din. We plunge into the darkness, the ship buffeting wildly as chunks of debris rain down. The tremor shifts into a juddering vibration. The world outside dissolves into a smear of rock and blinding crimson light. I brace for impact, for the gut-wrenching crunch of metal against stone. The deafening screech fills my ears, followed by a bone-jarring jolt that rattles the ship like a flimsy toy. The groan of tearing metal fills the air, a horrifying counterpoint to the dying shriek of the engines. The shuddering intensifies, morphing into a violent shaking that threatens to tear the ship apart. Dust and debris rain down, stinging my eyes and choking the air. Then, with a lurch and a final ear-splitting clang, silence slams down on us. Dust hangs thick in the air, illuminated by the glow of failing emergency lights. Slowly, cautiously, I unstrap myself. My legs are rubbery, each step an effort against a residual vertigo. "Anyone alive?" I call out, wincing at the tremor in my voice that I try and fail to disguise. "Just about," Dex groans from his station. He's pale, a smear of blood trickling down his forehead, but conscious. A ragged cheer goes up as Reese emerges from the shadows. Even in this hellscape, an impish smile plays on his lips, then silence again. I make my way towards the comms station. "Jaro?" Nothing. "Jaro, report!" Static buzzes in my ear. I pound a fist on the console, ignoring the jolt of pain. He was at the controls, took the brunt of the impact. Suddenly, the comm unit crackles to life. "Can hear?" Jaro's voice is faint, choked with dust and something else. Pain. Or is it fear? "Jaro, it's me!" I surge towards the comms. "Where the hell are you?" There's a choked gasp, a scraping sound. "In shaft! Fell through!" My blood runs cold. "Your suit, is it intact?" "Think so. Breach. Legs trapped." His voice is fading. Each word, a struggle. The shaft, unstable, the tremors. He's not going to make it. But I can't just leave him. "Hold on, Jaro, we're coming." I bark the order before I can even process what it means. We're ill-equipped, half-blinded in the gloom, and walking into a death trap. Dex and Reese exchange a look. We signed up for this. For the risk, the reward, and the brutal choices in between. We set off, the rubble-strewn ship, serving as our only landmark in a maze of darkness. And somewhere, buried beneath tons of rock, is a dying friend. We scramble and crawl through the shattered belly of the ship, flashlights carving meager beams into the oppressive darkness. The dust is thick, coating our scavenged EVA suits and making every breath a struggle. "Jaro!" Reese's voice booms. "Answer us, damn it!" Nothing but the groan of settling debris and the rhythmic thudding of my own heart. Every shadow has the potential to be his mangled body, every creak of metal, the final collapse that will bury him forever. "Split up!" I command, the tightness in my chest threatening to choke me. "Dex, you take that corridor! Reese with me!" We fan out, voices calling out Jaro's name, interspersed with curses when we stumble over unseen debris. I sweep my flashlight wildly, searching for a sign, any sign, that he's still clinging to life. Time melts. Is it seconds, minutes? It feels like eons trapped in this suffocating, crumbling labyrinth. We're scavengers, not rescue workers. Each call for Jaro feels like a nail hammered into his coffin. And then a spark of hope. "Here!" It's Dex, his voice hoarse, a tremor of terror just beneath the surface. I race toward him, Reese hot on my heels. He's crouched next to a hole in the deck plating. The flashlight beam slices down the shaft, and then catches on a glint of metal, Jaro's suit. He's wedged further down, just out of reach, a twisted mass of rock and machinery pinning his leg. "Jaro, can you hear me?" I yell, leaning precariously over the edge of the chasm. His helmet swivels weakly towards my voice. His visor is cracked, a spiderweb of fractures obscuring his face. Blood streaks his skin, mingling with grime. "Thought I was done for," he says. His breathing is a rattling sound. "We're going to get you out of there, I promise." But even to my ears, it rings hollow. The shaft is a vertical death trap, littered with sharp protrusions and loose debris. One wrong move, one stray rock, and we'll crush him. "No time," Jaro whispers, determination in his eyes despite the sheen of pain. "Get the item. Just get it out of here." "Don't talk like that," Reese snaps, but his usual bravado sounds strained, fragile. Jaro ignores him, his gaze locking with mine. "Forget me. Save yourselves." I clench my jaw, a familiar wave of fury surging within me. The galaxy's a damn cruel place. People like Jaro, the quiet, steady ones, die in the darkness so people like me can keep chasing scraps of hope. I force myself to look away, to scan the surroundings. We don't have gear for a technical rescue, but there might be another way. Reese, I say, keeping my voice steady, check out that wreckage further back. Anything we can use as leverage? Dex, get those emergency cables from storage. There's a beat of silence, then a rustle of movement as they obey. A gleam of metal catches my eye. A support beam, miraculously still intact, juts out above the chasm. If we can rig a pulley, get enough leverage. We work with maddening urgency. Dex feeds me lengths of cable, hands trembling. Reese, usually so flippant, is grim-faced as he surveys the support beam. Every creak of metal, every tremor of the unstable shaft sets our nerves on edge. Time is a noose tightening around Jaro's neck, around all our necks. Think this'll hold? Reese grunts, testing the strength of the salvaged beam. It'll have to! I snap back, threading the cable through a harness we've cobbled together from old rigging. Sweat burns my eyes, mingling with dust. With agonizing slowness, we lower the harness into the shaft. Jaro, fading fast, barely manages to hook himself in. Ready! I bellow. Together, Reese and I heave against the beam, muscles screaming in protest. At first, there's resistance, the weight of Jaro's body compounded by the unforgiving debris. Then, inch by agonizing inch, he starts to rise. The sound rips the breath from my lungs, a sound that shakes the foundations of the planetoid, a bellow of rage. My blood turns to ice. It's found us. Faster! Reese screams, face contorted with exertion. Emerging from the depths, the creature is a nightmare made flesh. Molten eyes burn with predatory intelligence. Armored scales catch glints of our feeble flashlights. Claws the size of shuttlecraft rip through the deck plating, sending shards of metal raining down. The pulley groans in protest. Any second now, the beam will snap. The creature will have us. Jaro dangles just a few meters out of reach. Pain and fear have robbed him of any remaining strength. Leave me! He gasps, eyes filled with terrible clarity. Save yourselves! Shut up! I snap back, ignoring the hot tears of frustration stinging my eyes. We're so close. We can't give up now. Then the beam gives an ominous crack. Reese curses, stumbling backward. I can't hold it! The creature lunges, a jaw full of razor-sharp teeth closing in. Go! I scream at Reese and Dex. They need no further prompting. Terror lends them a speed I've never seen before, stumbling and scrambling back into the shadows. I draw my blaster, a futile gesture, a final spit in the face of the inevitable. The creature is almost upon me, its stench, a mix of sulfur and rotting flesh, overwhelming. I brace myself. Then, a crash. Jaro's weight yanks on the harness, the pulley screeching in agony. But the beam holds just barely. I fire blindly at the creature, the shots bouncing harmlessly off its hide. I'm not trying to hurt it, just distract it. Buy Jaro a few more precious seconds. He's almost within reach. I lunge forward, fingers wrapping around his outstretched hand. And then the beam snaps. The world explodes into noise and pain. The creature's roar is deafening as its clawed hand snatches Jaro, crushing him like an insect. My shoulder burns as I'm ripped away, the cable severing, sending me tumbling back into the wreckage. I hit the ground hard, gasping. Through blurry vision, I see it retreating, clutching its bloodied prize back into the depths from where it came. Silence crashes down, broken only by the sound of the distant rumble of collapsing rock. I lie there, bruised and broken, staring at the severed cable. Jaro is gone. Dex and Reese, too, likely fled for their lives. And something tells me that it's merely biding its time, lurking below. The wreckage offers a maze of twisted shadows to hide in at first. Yet I know every screech of metal, every tremor underfoot is a countdown. The creature is simply toying with its prey, savoring the hunt before the kill. I stumble down a corridor, barely suppressing a sob that tears at my throat. I've seen that hunger before. in the eyes of starving scavengers fighting over a scrap of tech. There's a primal terror to it, a knowledge that to beasts like that, I'm simply meat. Survival instincts, honed through years of scraping by, kick in. I can't outfight it, but maybe I can outsmart it, at least for a while. I weave through the wreckage, forcing myself to ignore the searing pain in my injured shoulder. Every corridor, every ventilation shaft becomes a potential escape route. The creature's size works against it in these tight confines. Adrenaline surges. If I move fast enough, erratically enough, I might just confuse it, buy myself time to find a way out of this damned rock, if there even is one. A shadow looms over me. I whirl, blaster raised, and my scream dies in my throat. It's just a pile of debris, made monstrous in the dim light. My nerves are frayed, each rustle of metal sounding like the creature's approach. Then, a tremor ripples through the ground, more sustained than the random quakes. It's getting closer. The hunt is coming to its brutal climax. Desperation lends my feet wings. I lunge down a side passage. The passageway snakes and twists. Maybe it will lead back to the surface. A blast of superheated air washes over me, the stench of sulfur making me gag. I break into a sprint, a roar booming behind me. The passageway opens into a cavern. A dead end. In the dimness, I see the fractured chasm where the creature emerged. And then, I see them, Reese and Dex, huddled against the far wall, eyes filled with abject horror. Relief washes over me, only to be replaced with a soul-deep chill. They're not fleeing upwards towards escape, but cowering. There is no way out. It slithers into view, its scaled bulk filling the cavern. We're cornered. Dex lets out a whimper, blaster shaking in his hand. Reese has gone deathly pale. He raises his blaster, firing a barrage of shots at the creature. I join him, knowing it's futile. But screaming defiance into the face of death feels better than this crushing dread. For a heartbeat, I feel a surge of satisfaction. Even cornered, we can sting the beast before it consumes us. Then it opens its enormous mouth and a gout of flame washes over us. Reese screams, a terrible keening sound that cuts off abruptly. Dex simply dissolves, turning to ash in the blink of an eye. And then it's my turn. The world blazes white, and then there's only darkness. A fitting end, I suppose, for a scavenger. Swallowed by the vast, uncaring void just like the countless wrecks I've picked over.